No one is talking about this. AI has killed such kind of tools.
Computing power will increase exponentially. That's going to change the world. Human intelligence is improving.
And so really handy and useful that time. This has eaten up everything.
Same activity, 3 different businesses having 3 different bots running or agents running. Centralization of AI first team is very important. 5 people in a boardroom deciding the next strategy and how things are going to go. And the organizations are looking at being AI first. Healthcare is very compliance based. Certainly, agentic AI is the way to go ahead.
To spend more time on RCM as a business.
As you transition to superintelligence, that's the end stage. You cannot keep spending on technology and then it getting outdated in 3 months. 90% of my learning on AI happened through pre-trained LLMs.
What is the most efficient way of learning AI?
What is this all about? I mean, what's this magic?
Hello everyone, I'm Anil Bajpai and welcome to AB Talks, a space where we explore inspiring stories and conversations at the intersection of AI, innovation, and human experience. The journey started when I began connecting with like minded people who share a deep passion for AI. The response has been incredible so far, with so many amazing guests eager to share their journeys and insights. I'm grateful for the enthusiasm, and I promise to keep bringing you the most thought provoking conversations. If you are watching or listening, please subscribe. Your support motivates not only me, but also our wonderful guests who make this show special. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Joining us is David Ross, an AI enthusiast, futurist, and speaker who has been shaping conversations around how AI is transforming our world. With over 25 years of experience spanning technology, strategy, and intelligence systems, David combines hands on expertise with visionary perspective. An alumni of the Indian School of Business, he is passionate about how AI can evolve from being just a tool to becoming a true partner in how we work, decide, and innovate. So, without much delay, let's welcome David Ross. Maybe just give a little bit glimpse about like from where you belong, how you got up in these educations, and then finally how you thought about starting the career and the corporate, and what was your first job. Anything, a story that you want to talk about?
I had a very interesting journey. So largely started off with the BPO, early, I guess 2000 lot, so now 25 years. And majority of the first quarter of my experience largely in the BPO ITS and been a part of multiple areas. So I've been in the financial sales, part of marketing, various industries, finance, have been exposed to airlines, travel, domain, etc. Yeah, and it's been a wonderful journey. And then landed up with, let's say, with in healthcare. That is where I realized that one of my mentors told me that, hey, there are few industries that evergreen and you're on the right industry. And he said, why? So I said, healthcare is something that any catastrophe, anything happens, healthcare, education, religion are the 3 most important industries that never die. They'll always want to be there. And that told me that I'm in the right industry and always be evergreen. So that started my trajectory in healthcare. I've always been very excited about technology from the get-go. Right from, I would say, rudimentary Excel, Access at that point in time, MS Access, which is a BMS, database management system, and being able to build stuff there that has been a game changer for the organizations at that point in time, and always has wanted to basically see how we can augment intelligence, be able to do stuff that improves workflows, enables better results, which then comes the dawn of AI. So said AI, and that's opened up the whole window. So last, I guess, 4 years now, 3 to 4 years. And that got me thinking as to, hey, I need to understand this thoroughly. So that is where I started to, as a self-learning, started getting to AI, understanding what is this all about? I mean, what's this magic?
Yeah.
As such. And Then I unfolded the mystery and started getting into it. And there's where I wanted to educate myself to be able to be a part of this journey. So without thinking of it as magic and really knowing how it works. So absolutely, that's an area that actually drove me into really spending hours and hours and hundreds of hours into this technology, and decided to go formal with my education on it. And that's where I invested into ISP, etc. And I'm in absolutely phenomenal clarity once I started to dwell into the details. So it's been a great journey.
Your education from ISB and other education, did that help with your journey on AI?
Absolutely. It does give you a base. That gives you an understanding, but that's where my excitement about, I would say, technology comes in play. It's really builds that base. But AI is a different ballgame altogether. So that actually gave me a good foundation to be able to understand this technology. So yeah, base education is always good and gives you that kind of springboard to be able to now really be able to accelerate your understanding once you get into this technology. But it's so confusing. You have so much stuff like LLMs. Now you directly jump from level 1 to level 50. And if you don't understand the basis between those levels, it gets a bit difficult and overwhelming to catch up.
What a great journey, David. And just wanted to ask a follow up on this one. Let's say that someone with your years of experience, right? If they want to get into learning AI, what is the most efficient way of learning AI? How was the journey? Like, what tools, technology, processes that you have adopted that help you learn AI faster?
Very interesting question. So for me, the journey started very, very long time back because of the dress. So number one is if someone wants to learn this technology from scratch, we need to understand the basis of it, understand what RPA does, what are interpretability, etc. I would say your best educator today over the last 2 years is 90% of my learning on AI for me happened through pre-trained LLMs. And I would give that kind of hats off to Chat GPT. And is there where basically you need to be firstly open to learn and really spend a few hours. I spent around 3 to 4 hours from 1 a.m. to around 4 a.m. nearly every day, spending time on evaluating what is this and asking the questions. And Chat GPT, all these LLM models are the best guide for leaders, at least to understand the basics of it. So re-question, we come with terminology you don't understand, dig deeper into it. It's not a very tough journey. Within 2 or 3 months, you will understand what's happening from an education perspective, self-learning thought perspective. Secondly, ask the right questions within your organization. We had a tech team, software team, and I would go back to them and clarify some things and brainstorm with them over a cup of tea when we met. That helps to get clarification. But certainly a formal course or an education, I feel, is very, very critical because then it adds all the parts of the puzzle together and you get real clarity from the experts because we have a lot of perception when you do self-study. And it removed those perceptions and some misconceptions got eliminated through formal learning. Yeah. So certainly is where the ISB course came in play for me and really put things in perspective. And now I understand the technology much better. And now I can guide my staff to be able to take that journey and educate them to be able to get there. So that's...
So formal education, when you mentioned, like, did you pursue any course particularly?
There are so many courses. So I would say if you're a noob largely into and want to understand art of intelligence, what is this? There are multiple courses available on Academy, etc. And if you are largely from a more strategic or influencer perspective, do courses that do not get into the detailing of, let's say, Python or etc. You don't need to know that. I did that myself and found it irrelevant at the point of time. But help me to understand courses that basically dwell on technologies, hands-on. Let's say you have Gamma, you have generative AI, you have understanding of neural networks. That really helps to be able to give you a good perspective. So don't go too deep, I would suggest, but you can make decisions and understand the technology, that what's it called, the benefits of the technology from there. and then correlate to your business to be able to apply it. And you always have your software team that will do the groundwork beautifully and be able to give you beautiful products. But from a strategist perspective, and understanding how can we do this, what ifs, you need to ask what ifs, but understanding the underlying technology.
Really inspired with your journey. Moving ahead to this questionnaire, as an AI strategist and futurist, how do you see AI changing the way business operate in the next few years?
You cannot predict it now with the trajectory that it's going with. Technology should change. I mean, things changed, industries changed over 30 years, 20, 30 years, and something new came up. And that was legacy, around 100 years legacy. However, if you look at it the last 4 years, the way things have moved is exponential compared to it. So, as Andrew Ng stated, that AI is the new electricity. That's just going to change the way all industries basically function. It built new work streams. It built new, it created new product, speeded up production, business lines, etc. So I see AI doing the same. I totally agree with him that this is a new electricity. There's going to be a lot of changes that's going to happen. This is not only just at cognitive intelligence perspective. It's going to basically change the way everything is going to function. So from a research and development perspective in the, let's say, healthcare, there could be cure to cancer at some point, especially with right now the computing capacity right now limited with silicon chips. But then we have these new technologies coming in play with, firstly, we have the cognitive capabilities, and then computing power is missing. Whereas now with, let's say, your quantum chips, bio chips coming in play, research happening there on these areas, computing power will increase exponentially. That's going to change the world at some point. Now,
It is still a better time to invest in NVIDIA stocks.
absolutely. Basically, future technologies, there's a maturity cycle of AI, and there is where companies like cloud organizations that basically are building plug and play and the latest technologies into that environments. The organizations are moving there because you cannot keep spending on technology and then it getting outdated in 3 months. So I would invest there. NVIDIA, absolutely one of the big areas that I would put my money on.
Next question, I want to ask more about your domain, right? And our domain, I would say, in healthcare, especially around RCM, revenue cycle management. What do you see the impact of AI and where it can transform?
At this stage, the cognitive intelligence of AI to super intelligence, I feel that's a maturity movement of AI. At this point, cognitive intelligence currently, I would say, would be around a 10 to 14-year-old child, which knows everything and can respond back based on what it knows without understanding the ethical requirements and what's good, what's bad. So that's at risk right now that we should all understand. Right now, we are at that stage. And as you transition to super intelligence, that's the end stage. So certainly is the cognitive skills are there. We should understand that, realize it as leaders, and still be able to leverage it with a checker maker protocols to ensure that it's accuracy. Having said that, AI, I feel is already started to bridge clinical and financial intelligence. It's reducing a lot of administrative waste, predicting denials today, being able to predict denials before they occur. So certainly it's adding two layers. When I look at AI, I look at it at two areas largely. Number one is the automation area, where it was always there, was not leveraged to that extent, but now it's getting cheaper cost-wise to be able to leverage it. So that's the automation, rudimentary activities getting replicated with agents, agent to agent, etc. So that certainly is an area that can improve the bottom line of organizations and augment that kind of cost savings back to their clients, being competitive. So that's an area that's happening right now and was there the last 10, 15 years that now it's become cheaper. The most important layer is the second one, automation, and then you have intelligence. And there is where I feel it's going to be the bang for the buck. It's not matured yet or we taken advantage of yet, but certainly that's an area of intelligence that basically where it starts getting personalized patient finance experiences, decision making in terms of strategic as well as problem solving will come in play. So that it is going to digitize intelligence, human intelligence. It's not been explored to a large extent, I feel, today because of one of the very basic foundation issues that every business has is the availability of a very synchronized omni-channel type of data layer. And because of the lack of that, companies are starting to invest in it and identifying it. And once you have a very streamlined data layer, intelligence is going to exponentially move, where it's going to run through the whole journey from start to end, let's say across RCM or any industry, right? From pre-sales to final output, understand that whole cycle and be able to predict what's going to happen next. And cognitive be like an AI assistant for knowledge, right? Today we have manual errors, right? I would say somewhere between 5 to 2% error rates because of manual interventions. Basically, I would see this in the next future, you having someone in the back on your screen prompting you what to do next. It's an intelligent SME that's with you on your system. You can ask questions, it'll answer you as you go and guide you through the whole process to be able to improve that top line revenue generation. So intelligence more is on the revenue side, top line improvement, and cost saving would be more on the automation side of augmenting tasks, rudimentary tasks.
Again, spend more time on RCM as a business, right? So if I ask you to explain what revenue cycle management does, right, and where it fits in overall healthcare cycle, right? If you want to just take 5 minutes and explain about it.
It's going to take a day. Anil, someone who doesn't understand RCM. So RCM largely is what we do is physician provides services. Patients come with the services. Now happens is in the US demographic largely is very different from India, right? So in India, you have a cold, you go to a doctor, he gives you a prescription, you pay him and you're out the door. That's the outpatient setup. And then you have the inpatient setup where you schedule an appointment, you go get admitted, your procedure is done, you have your cashless payments that happen. Hospital will go back and basically understand and work with the payer and get the information, and the payout happens within a day by the end of your discharge. So understanding these two now in the US setup, it's a bit different, where out of office, your basic physician visits or anything, outpatient or inpatient, is the same as hospitals. The only challenge is that when the patient visits the physician finish the procedure and then bill it out to the payer. So it's all the physician's responsibility to now manage that whole workflow of billing the charge, put it all together. There's a very structured way to do it. There are standards and compliance is required before this is built out, and then ensure that the payer pays. So fundamentally that's RCM, where you manage that back-end activity where the physician does not need to bother about, okay, now I have to bill this charge or I have to now follow up with payer or get payments from the patient. RCM manages that whole cycle altogether. And that's what RCM is. RCM in the whole structure, as you discussed, as you want to know, of healthcare, is a small cog in the whole setup. So RCM in healthcare, you have three basic major players, four players. You have the pharma companies that basically look at drugs and all the requirements from day-to-day necessity requirements, etc., manufacturing per se. Then you have the DME, all the prostates, all the other things that are required for a building, for assisting health. Then you have the payer segments, and then you have the provider segments. Yeah. So this whole infrastructure works together as healthcare. Right. Each of them have their own variations and challenges and are as big as the other. And so RCM is just part of that whole healthcare umbrella.
So my understanding is almost the same between payer, provider, and multiple entities. How do we broker the communication so that everyone get paid for the services that they deliver, and everyone who's participating as a health plan, right? They are equally involved in or they negotiated traded contract that they may have, right? So that's pretty much the understanding. Moving next to the most important topic, right, out of this discussion. From RPA, we have seen the journey or IPA, right? And then agentic process automation. But from RPA to conversational AI and agentic AI, which technology do you feel is most impactful right now?
Looking at this whole, it's all, I would say it's a combination of all these. You have your conversational AI, you have RPA or agent to agent. Then you have your conversational AI, which understands unstructured information, absorbs it, builds, okay, now what's the next step? And then be able to basically direct other agents to be able to now complete that task. I feel all of them are the same. It's just pieces of that puzzle. Agentic that covers that whole umbrella, that whole segment. So certainly agentic AI is the way to go ahead. Absolutely someone that can direct someone. You had a human direct that before and decide, okay, we'll do this bot and then this bot and 3 bots and put them together. And agentic AI takes that away and does it themselves.
I agree. So on agentic AI, right, there are several tools available in the market, some from LangChain, LangGraph, Copilot Studio, then Microsoft keep innovating new products, right? There was Semantic Kernel, Autogen, right? And on the Google side, they have Google ADK and it and has its own market. Right? Where do you see this some of the work that you are doing, your team is doing, right? What is the most quick tool or the quick platform that they are leveraging?
Anil, healthcare is very compliance based and basically tools that are able to live within that network is one of the most important parameters before taking a decision on anything you wear. There are a lot of tools available, as you said, can leverage all of them. There are 2 ways to be able to do that. I would look at it is number one is basically maintaining that layer of compliance is going to be private, can it be enterprise level, and then you have the cost, and then you have your talent pool. So based on these 3 combinations is where decisions largely will be made on whether which has that capability to check mark all these 3, as well as a talent pool to be able to build on it. RCM is moving in a direction where companies don't want to build more, then borrow or buy at this point. So build being the focus area, borrow and buy still there. I would say around 30-40% right now, but it'll change with time. But as these technologies are now getting very intertwined in terms of the backend Python, R, etc., and once we start getting to that layer and with cloud computing, mostly it's, I can tell you right now, it's more to do which cloud you're on, what they are providing. So if you're on Azure, you have those Azure tool sets, etc., and that's the way to go because it's comprehensively
Connected to their ecosystem.
correct. Connected ecosystem, I can build that ecosystem there. So there's where cloud comes as a big decision maker. And then these 3 layers of your competency, capacity, and compliance. So if you have all these 3 check marks, you'll move that direction. There are lovely tools there. As you mentioned, most of them are really great, very quick. However, that decision gets overridden by where you are and what environment you're in.
You answered that question, right? Basically, the cloud choice dictates which agentic platform you want to choose. But in your mind, based on like number of clouds and their agentic platform, right, capabilities that you would have evaluated, do you want to say like if someone just is starting their agentic AI journey, what should be the first or easiest way to navigate if someone is on Microsoft? Would you recommend Copilot Studio? Would you recommend Autogen, Semantic Kernel? What would you recommend?
I would start a bit earlier. So we're just starting a journey. First is the vision, where you want to be. Because I've seen many circumstances where technology decides the vision and mission. Okay, we have Gen AI. Let's now do things in Gen AI. I would never start there. Ideally, you'd start. So that's a want more than a need. Largely build your vision and build your vision based on what your needs are, where you are, where you want to be. Every organization is different. The requirements are different. Once you build that out, then you decide on which technology will fit that need. And then look at the best technology partner, application, cloud that will provide that services. And everybody has that solutions. There are solutions in different models, forms, frameworks, which you can then decide on where you want to go in this whole journey of being AI first. So you start there and then decide on move there, experiment, fail, fast. I would say fail fast, fail cheap. Always go with that directive, and they will give you the right decision, because without knowing what's your data layer, what's the company's infrastructure, how good your data foundations are, taking decision and recommending would not be the right option. So we should just do the reverse of build your need, understand your need to your journey, and you'll find tools that will address those. Just don't go the other way around.
So in my mind, when I think about agentic AI, right, there are two kind of solutions which I can easily think of. One, like having a deep research agent, right, where you can just bring the data from multiple sources, build some information out of it, and help customer to take the decision. There is another one where it is end-to-end workflow automation or optimization, right, or the transformation work. Where do you see in your area agentic is much more used? Is it more on the information agent or it is more about the automation agents?
Agents today, we have a lot of agents all over this time, right? And disconnected agents. So today, it's a massive work to be able to now make them talk to one another. But they're different platforms, they're different versions, and interportability is not that because of the data layers. So largely, it's to build a transformative change. As I mentioned before, you need to look at something that's a sync end to end. Today, the capability there. So basically, when you're building products or segmented functional products, you should have the mindset right now as a leader that you are going to make it as components, multiple components, but at the end of it with a vision and the foundation of those products, being able to all sync together, because there is where you're going to have the biggest bang for the buck in intelligence at the end of it. So certainly is compartmentalize, however, with the vision and the build, that at the end it's going to be a seamless product at the end of it, right, from end to end. So always build it from end to end perspective.
In the organization, let's say, right, your customer, I'm just giving you a hypothetical scenario, right? Your customer who wants that agentic AI capabilities to be commoditized, right? Everyone should be able to build their own agent because they understand their business really well, right? And the central unit just wanted to like enable everyone in the organization, right? So there will be duplicacy of agents, right? Because everyone might be building some SaaS to Python or Python to Java, things like that, right? So how, as an AI strategist, right, what are the 3 or 4 things that you think of to solve these problems where you see the multiple business units does not end up doing the duplicate thing? And as you earlier mentioned, it has to be rightly governed, it has to be cost optimized, and then it has to be based on the platform and scalability perspective.
Very important point you brought up here, Anil. With this new dawn, AI and the capabilities available, tools available, organizations are looking at being AI first. There has to be some fundamental changes in the org structure to enable that, because it's not about 5 people in a boardroom deciding the next strategy and how things are going to go and decide the next 2 years. It's more about collaboration right now, and there has to be a culture built within the organization, and this culture build has to have basically, or will need to be able to have an AI first group or department that drives not only innovation, ideation, as well as education across all these facets, but be able to project manage this. As I rightly said, we land up with same activity, 3 different businesses having 3 different pots running or agents running, and one is on X, Y, and Z. And then the reverse migration is a bigger headache, right? Then you have to migrate this backward. So certainly centralization of AI first team is very important. Should have also training, project management, software operations, all involved together to be able to govern this stream, because some products are great, but the first layer of compliance is not there. So compliance is so it's not only people, process, technology. Now it's also data and compliance, which are the 2 additional things that I look at from AI first strategy that you're looking at. So you have to look at these 2 things and then put everything together, and certainly have a cross-functional team that can deliver that governance, that can monitor and also have a compliance risk assessment for every opportunity. But as well as not have too much of bureaucracy, and let staff be able to experiment, as I say, fail cheap, fail fast, experiment, figure out what's there. You might come up with something that might be disruptor. And that's what we're all looking for as a business strategy. When you look at the Gartner opportunity model, you want to always be right on top, right? Something that's outward facing and disruptive. And that team should be able to drive this strategy. So it's basically going to be a separate entity that drives this kind of initiatives.
So when you explain about the strategy, right, in my mind, I was just painting the picture. There should be one team who will be more like a core team, AI first team that will have different roles that you talked about. Like there should be AI strategists, there should be AI architect, software engineers, project managers, so on and so forth. And then there should be another team who will be more from a governance perspective, right? Who's responsible that whatever this team is doing should be well and AI governed. There should not be any issues related to any policies, or especially in US and here it's very complex, right? And then there should be a third team, which is more about R&D, POC, rapid prototyping typing kind of a team, right? So that bigger team, whatever they are trying to do in next month, and this team should be able to quickly run it through, fail fast, fail cheap, right? And then tell to the team so that this entire engine works in favor and help achieving the vision. Is it the similar thought?
It's like, I would say, there are multiple organization types. So larger organizations would have, I would say, smaller organizations would be a hub and spoke, where you have the central team coordinating with each of the operations, compliance, etc. Because everything should run through them from a decision making and project management. For larger organizations, it will be multiple hub and spoke groups that then move into a relatively larger centralized hub and spoke for decision making, as well as basically ensuring consistency and compliance across all businesses.
I agree. And I think within this hub model, right, there should be another team, which should be value realization team, right? Who will be like what your business is committing. The team should continuously monitoring how much is the spend versus ROI, and then help validating, okay, this Gen AI or Agentic AI project is successful or not. Next thing I want to ask about, with rapid progress in AI, how do you see human rules and skills evolving alongside intelligent automation?
I've written a small write up on this, apparently. And with this whole change, I'm a movie buff. I love to see sci-fi movies. If I can call out a few, Minority Report, Iron Man's, what's his name, Jarvis. That excites me and say, hey, how can this be possible? This came before time. And before this, we had Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty, and teleportation and communication through mobiles, that we didn't have mobiles at a point in time. So what I feel is at this point, the human intelligence is improving with this technology. Right? There's been a lot of study that I hear that I'm not sure whether that's true or no, but basically use of the mind has reduced because of generative AI, things that people are not dwelling too much into. That's to a certain extent true, but if you look at the larger population today, understanding, taking my example, I understood AI and its technologies through one of these pre-trained generative LLMs itself. And so I increased my knowledge. Today we have intelligence in the palm of our hand. Lovely governance of the government. You have perplexity free for all Airtel. So now everybody starts using it and asking questions. It's how you use the technology is very important. But when I'm looking at in the sample that I look at, I've seen that people have become much more intelligent. They have answers which we used to go to Google and do last time, and all the activities, go to every site, read the site, figure out what the answer is, too much of time. The same thing has now become at the click of a button, ask a question or voice, and you have the answer largely ready. So I feel that human intelligence is improving with this. However, going forward, the intelligence layer, I said, is going to be very important. I feel it's going to be man with machine. That intelligence layer is going to explode with time once we start using those technologies to be able to not only look at bottom line, but also intelligence and I would say assistant coaching for organizations where you have someone assisting you through your process, because it's always not a logical decision. Cannot depend on that 10 to 14-year-old kid at this point in time. But certainly is going to enhance that man with machine option. So it's going to be a very good collaboration. So until you have super intelligence, I can tell you till before that, it's going to be man with machine. Super intelligence might change the game at that point, but I can't say at this point.
So, two observations here when you talked about, okay, Iron Man. I noticed that you kept that mustache and the beard style very similar like Iron Man movie. So that's first thing came to my mind. And second thing, very well said. I think there is a book also, Human and Machine, right? Which talks about how machine is going to augment what human is doing as of today and making them 10x faster, right? And that's what like we started depending too much on it, right? I know that it took me a half an hour time to draft an email, right? Just with the help of AI, put some keyword, get the mail ready and send it out, right? You need that reviewer. And I feel bad about some of the tools, David, right? There was like in my last organization, because they had to do a lot of work for US clients. They used to use Grammarly as one of the applications. No one is talking about this. AI has killed such kind of tools, right? Which
Yeah.
and so really handy and useful that time, right? For proofreading, for summarizing, right? This has eaten up everything. So definitely, when AI is here, you have to use it just to become much more productive. It's not something that you should ignore at this time. So I think there are several ideas, David, that's coming to my mind, right? But in the interest of time, I'll just ask one last question and want to conclude because it's weekend for you. But maybe we happy to have the second session of this podcast. My last question is finally, as a futurist, if you had to describe your vision of an AI powered future in one sentence, what would it be?
So in a sentence, I would say that largely it is a world where human wisdom and machine intelligence co-create solutions. And as you said, faster,
Yes.
fairer, and far more effective. However, keeping ethical and being more ethical and empathetic as we move ahead. That is something that's going to hurt with time as it gets more intelligent. That's a sentence that I would use to be able to put all my thoughts, millions of thoughts into a sentence.
I think you combined everything important. What when you talked about the speed, you talked about ethically using it, and then with like empathy, right? So you covered all important aspect in just this one sentence. Thank you so much for coming on this. Maybe just anything for this audience that you want to conclude, right? So that they get engaged and they understand the value of the conversation.
Oh, so the only point that I always believed in is number one, keep learning. That journey never stops. I'm hitting 50 now, soon, and I don't see the end of my learning at least, but that's helping me to grow and be able to be relevant in my organization, in my environment. So keep learning, keep studying. You have the best. At this point, you're in a generation where we have the best learning tools, where we didn't have, you have to go to books before to understand. You have knowledge at your fingertips. Utilize it to enhance your knowledge. That'll help you to keep growing. So aspirations are there. Keep learning. That's the only advice I can say, that as a human being, we are adaptive. That's going to keep you relevant.
Very thought provoking conclusion, I would say. So, with that, thank you so much, David, for coming on this podcast. And we wish you all the best. We'll record another in person podcast really soon.
Perfect. It's lovely to be here and discuss some intellectual, a very intellectual discussion. So I loved discussing this with you, Anil.
Thank you so much.